There's a race replay. It's Andreas Vik Osland. Is the BMW going past? Vik Osland, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to round 5 of a very rainy Nurburgring for the Thursday Championship. And it's been an interesting season so far with a great format as it's turned out. Yeah, very unusual. GT4 cars with the Porsche GT3 Cup cars on the field and jumping straight into qualifying now. The GT4 cars starting their warm-up laps. I'm Austin, and joining me in the box, again, speaking of unusual arrangements, we have Jesse Lee and Phil Roberts joining me on commentary, and broadcasting we have Christian. So, guys, how's it all going?
To start, I guess I'll start jumping in before Jesse does. Been out trackside before we started this, before we came up to the comms booth. It's a good thing I did bring my umbrella with me. It is absolutely soaking today, and it will probably be soaking for this race, so it will be a big test for some of these drivers, particularly those in Porsche Cup class. No traction control. We always talk about having to be very gentle with the throttle. Gonna have to be very feather touch gentle with the throttle today, I think, Austin.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, and I've been thinking this all season, just thinking, when do we get rain? We've seen it so many times in this championship so far. Those Porsche GT3 Cups, we've said it so many times. They have ABS, but they don't have traction control, and they still have heaps of power and torque. So, especially in the slow speed corners, it's definitely going to be interesting.
Well, 1 week ago at Watkins Glen, we saw a fantastic race in the dry. A lot of cars were pretty much glued to each other the entirety of the race. Today, I think you're going to have the exact opposite of that. Very little mistakes last week. However, the mistakes made at Watkins Glen were devastating. This week, the exact opposite. You're going to see cars going off left, right, and center all day. And I'm not wishing ill will on anybody. It is, like Phil said, very wet track, very tricky to drive cars. It's going to be a fun race, though. You can never predict a rain race simply because it is always the great equalizer.
I mean, just to bring one extra thing, Jesse, to point out as well, it's not going to just be about driver skill, but been in several of these sort of races at the start. It's absolutely terrifying. You may say, well, there's only 19 cars, it shouldn't be that bad, but 19 cars throwing up spray, you cannot see a thing coming down into turn 1. The Nurburgring turn 1 is scary enough in the dry, so I don't know what it's going to be like for some of these drivers in the wet.
That's exactly the point I was actually going to make, Phil. I mean, Nurburgring's difficult to get through as it is, and it's a track that encourages good racing, but it's a very hard track to overtake at times, with heavy braking zones, and really only one line through some of the corners, and it narrows up quite a bit too in the middle sectors. So I'm quite excited to see what's actually going to happen today. But yeah, no, Tom Watts, you completed a warm-up lap. Obviously try and get as much heat as you can, and then those wet tyres. Not the easiest task to do, but I mean, we'll find out when the cars start crossing the line where they actually come out and sit.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, about GC4 cars, about needing like an extra lap to warm up. I think with these wet tyres tend to be a lot softer. So long as you got your tyre pressures in the right area, then you should get these warmed up within a lap even without tyre warmers. So we should be seeing them go up to their true pace fairly quickly. At least I'd say so. I don't think there's enough cars to clear the racing line at the minute. But yeah, we should be seeing them close to how fast they're actually going to go, like straight away. Maybe there's a bit of confidence with this as well, because obviously you get to know the track, but the drivers know where they can brake, where they can put the foot down easier, unless they've been doing quali runs in practice, which drivers do. But we shall see. What do you think, Jesse?
Well, inevitably, of course, somebody's going to ask exactly how hard it is raining. Well, you can see in the top right corner of the screen, it's a consistent heavy rain, I would call it. It's not a light rain. The track is entirely soaked. There is a drier line. I think also what you're going to see, and more to the point in this quali session, is that's going to improve, or we hope it will improve. Maybe not so much for the genetic classes, but the Porsche Cup cars might catch a little bit of a break here with added grip with the genetics clearing off the track. We'll see. It is raining quite hard, but I was kind of chuckling to myself. You mentioned a warm-up lap. It is a warm-up lap in every sense of the word in these conditions. Tom Watts comes across the line and immediately is outdone by Rudy Philmalter, who goes to the top of the AM class, and then Verstappen goes all the way to the top in the silver class, a 13.597. 8/100ths quicker than Rudy Philmalter, who goes quickest, and Sarah Stan in the Kvetch Motorsport 604, highlighting one of the issues. Austin, can you explain to us the difficulties of driving a Maserati, even in perfect conditions?
Well, the thing is with the Maserati is you need to be a special kind of, well, not special, but you need to have a particular mindset to take it, because it has no ABS and no traction control, which at the best of times means you've got no electronics to lean into. So it's maybe not the most competitive car, but it's certainly a lot of fun. In the wet, however, I mean, it could be fun if going sideways is your thing, but
I'm not really sure about the sideways thing. I'd probably say Maserati is more going back to more like classic sort of racing. Well, you know, we're kind of used to in this game cars with ABS, which encourages naturally the driver to brake deeper into the corner. You lean on the ABS to throw a brake. You can't really do that much in a Maserati anyway. Obviously, you have to brake a lot more in a straight line. You can't really carry some of that speed through the corner like some of these cars can. But yeah, like I think somebody was saying, I think it was one of the Adam Dubiel who was doing the Maserati in last Thursday champ, who was saying before that Maserati just feels like you're permanently like going slower than the people around you, and you have to brake earlier than the people around you as well. So I think Maserati in these conditions, in real life, obviously teams that run Maseratis don't race in these conditions. So fair play to Van der Wood and to Saracen, a lot braver than the drivers in real life.
yeah, I mean, certainly not the car that I would take, but I mean, yeah, it's a unique car and it's a lot of fun to drive, and it's I mean, you can't really fault them. I mean, the one thing I will say about the Maserati is it does seem to have more mechanical grip at the very least, so it does have some saving grace, which keeps it somewhat competitive if you know how to drive it. So, fair play.
Well, some people just like a challenge too. You got to consider that as well. Others want to try and dominate every race. Some want to challenge themselves, and I cannot think of a more fitting challenge than this race today in a car with no ABS, no traction control. Verstappen still the quickest with that 13.597. Rudy Philmalter took more than 4/10 out of that time, now down to 3/10 the gap first to second, but that will not bother Philmalter, who is in the GT4 AM class, versus Verstappen in the silver. and it sort of staggered the first several positions. John Razor in the 699, half a second off the best silver car. And then you have Redford in fourth place. The second AM car, that 95, is just about 8.5 tenths off of the lead, and about 5.5 tenths off of his rival in the class. Behind them, Skrillex, Daly, Pimlott, and Tom Watts. Vanderwood now has set a lap. Malcolm and Harvey, as you just saw in that KTM. Saw an interesting comment from chat. The last time they saw a KTM in the rain here, it won. That is very interesting. Can Harvey do that today? They're 6 seconds off on that first lap, but I don't know, Phil. It just seems like you kind of got to get your feet. Oh dear, I'm going to say this live. It's almost like you got to get your feet wet before you actually try to set a lap. And I do apologize. It's a race car. You never know.
You're gonna have to get your feet wet literally in these conditions, I think, Jesse. I don't think that KTM got is sealed completely, but boggy feet, yeah. As we move, come back to that point just a minute, Jesse, as we see Tom Watts, he's 6 tenths up at the minute on his time. Where's he going to end? It should be just behind Jordan Daly, which it is, 1.1 seconds off the pace. Back to your point, though, KTM, bit of a handful to drive, I must admit. It's definitely designed for cornering, but probably a bit too much. Like, you tend to find, I mean, Austin was saying it before about going sideways. Probably end up going sideways more in a KTM than any other car in GT4. Which probably lends itself well to these sort of conditions that you can just throw the car in. Speaking of cars in the wet, one of my least favourite cars to drive in the wet is, we're on board now, the BMW.
Oh, I thought you were going to say least favourite drivers.
No. Far from it, Jesse Lee. That's slander right on air right there.
I was going to say, be careful. I do think Daly does actually watch these back, so...
Absolute slander going on in there right now. But it is slander, isn't it? Libel's the one where it's written down.
Listen, I didn't say that you did say that. I was just afraid you might have said that.
No, I said car. I said car. Jesse Lee.
But speaking of the car, though, I mean, it's surprising since the BMW is kind of a bit of a boat, and then from a bit of a boat to a total boat, you've got the Camaro, which, I mean, Verstappen's doing work.
Are we making puns today? Is that what we're doing? Or are these all accidental? These can't all be accidental.
But no, these cars they are land barges. I mean, the Americans do call the Camaros. Jess, you're American. You're our resident freedom person.
Go on. Yeah.
I mean,
Freedom
person. Yeah, we've got to keep it stream friendly. There's many things I could have said.
I prefer Burger American, but you know.
I mean, just because you have Eagles per square freedom
or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But no, you guys do tend to call these cars like land barges, don't you? So just because of their size.
Well, what we actually call them are slow marrows. And if you're a Ford fan, you typically would call them that. There was a time where that was absolutely true, where Camaros were incredibly slow. Not this one. This is a ZL1, as far as I'm aware. These are not slow by any stretch of the imagination, and a formidable car here in GT4 around some of the racetracks. Now, in the wet here, I don't know. We're going to see, but Skrillex doing their best job here, keeping that car inside the top 5. Verstappen, by the way, has reset quickest lap. It's a 13.432. John Razor is bumped up onto the front row with his fellow silver GT4 counterpart. 0.36 off of the ultimate pace. Rudy Philmalter not challenged at all thus far in the GT4 AM class, but Mike Redford's on a flyer right here.
Yeah, I was going to say, Phil Malta actually, fairly high up considering different class of car entirely. But keeping up there with the silvers. But Redford about to cross the line, as you say, on a flyer. Where is that going to put them out? That's going to put them ahead of Phil Malta. Again, both these drivers punching well above their weight and less than a tenth of a second between them. So, wow.
I can't wait to see how Mike Redford's first lap luck is going to play out with that position there. To be honest, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Excuse me, Christine. I've just had Christine just tell me it's a way of saying skill issues. It's definitely
all
not.
Right, let's not.
It's not. Why
Phil,
am I'm getting slandered here. I feel like people are just accusing
My
me.
goodness.
Accusing
Go
me
3
of
wide, they
being
said.
rude to the
3
drivers.
commentators, they said. It'll be fun, they said. What? I'm assuming the reason you're saying that about Redford is the fact that he's in the Alpine. Is that correct?
No, it's more that Mike's. Hang on, let me finish. Let me finish. Christian, I feel like
Is this Night Owl?
Yeah, I'm talking. I feel like I'm talking to myself, to people in the chat, but no.
Is it
no,
Saturday?
What I mean, hang on. Your Honor, let me finish my testimony. So what I mean by that is the Mike will probably back me up on this one as well, is that he recognises that sometimes he'll get, but no fault of his own, into first lap crashes. So he could be just like there, innocently on his own, doing the job, and then somebody just eats into the back of him or something like that. That's what I meant. It sort of takes a sting out of it now, doesn't it? Put it like that.
Maybe. So it's always fun.
I'm arguing with Christian Stricker in my ear as well, so it feels like I'm like having a mental breakdown on air for some people.
It definitely sounds like that. As somebody who's fought with Stewie, our fantastic broadcaster for those Fridays, I fight with him every single week, and sometimes I've had conversations with him, and I realize listening back to the cast, you only hear half of that. It absolutely makes you sound like somebody who is having a sort of a mental crisis at the time. But
yeah, that's a better word to use. Sorry.
Qualifying continues here. 6.5 minutes left to go. The Porsche Cup car's on the track, and everybody in the booth getting along swimmingly. Nobody mad at anybody. Christian's definitely not continuing to make fun of Phil, even as I speak. 7:14 p.m. late in the afternoon. The rain has continued, and what I thought would happen hasn't really happened. Incorrect, absolutely. There is a line there now. You can see it as we ride on board the Grease Weasel Racing 69. This is Andy Boardman's view. And there is definitely now a line that is not shiny that has been run in. Now, that's still a wet part of the racetrack, of course. But the more important thing is that it does have more grip when it isn't glazed over. So the Ginettas, or excuse me, not specifically the Ginettas, but the GT4s have done a good job for the Cup cars here.
That's it. I mean, especially with these cars not having the TC as well. Having a dry line is going to be so important. But then again, on wet tires as well. I mean, it's one small kind of, it's a small moment away from running onto like a dry patch or even aquaplaning entirely. So, these cars are not the easiest of things to drive at the best of times. And I have driven these things in the wet, and they are something else. So, I mean, Janier coming in with provisional pole, Huel with second, and Boardman running in third currently. So, obviously, Boardman leading the championship right now, too. So, incredibly quick. Marcos coming in and Kokos line in provisional fourth, but there's still 5 minutes of quali remaining, so this isn't necessarily the final orders. Yeah, well,
as we see Victor Marcos there, as you say, P2, he's two and a bit seconds off the pace at the minute, but I think with me and you were in the same championship actually, Austin, because I remember one race with these cars where I was told some park in changeable conditions. Don't know who the hell set that sort of race conditions for these cars, but not fun driving.
I know exactly who it was, but
No, well, we don't mention those sort of people on broadcast, to be honest, because it gives them the attention that they crave, and we're not going to give it to them. So.
Oh my God! I got a question. You remember that race with Austin in there? Which one of you came out on top?
Well, Austin's a lot faster driver than me with these cars.
Oh, is it?
Driver's excuses. Here we go.
More than happy. It's not a driver's excuse, Jesse. I'm more than happy to put my hands up and say someone's a lot faster than me in a car.
Oh, am I faster than you?
Well, it depends. I don't think we've raced each other, Jesse.
We absolutely have, and you slaughtered.
After this broadcast, I'm starting a server, and we're having a duel. We'll broadcast that too, Christian. Just stick around afterwards.
I remember Christian's a lot faster. Christian's a lot faster than all of us as well. I've seen him. He's a very fast man. But
our broadcaster
Can I
just
just-
agreed
can I-
that he could slap all of us on the racetrack.
Right.
And
okay.
no humility there from Christian Stricker.
No
He says,
humble. He's not a humble
he said,
man at all.
He said, "Kids, watch and learn."
Guys, can I
Anyway,
also?
we still have a qualifying
I was
section
gonna
to
say,
talk
can I
about.
remind you
Oh,
that there's
yeah.
actually qualifying occurring right now?
Oh,
Dear
yeah,
me.
yo, flying Hellfish Taters 48 on provisional pole, 208.450. 4/10 behind him, Raphael Huel, Andy Boardman, 1/10 behind Huel in third place. Marcos in fourth place, 2.1 seconds off. Vic Osland and Doe Germany and McDonald have yet to set a lap in their cars, or at least the valid one. They are on the track, of course. Sarah Stant, who we saw earlier in the Maserati, that 604, they didn't set a lap. They made a couple of runs at it and came in, so they will, in all likelihood, start from the back. Vic Osland does finish their lap in the 36, 1.7 off the ultimate pace. Yan Yo's time looming large here.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be Janyo's first pole, at least in this championship. So this is going to be a huge result. I mean, Boardman starting, in third place potentially at this rate. Not terrible, but as you say, Phil, turn one Nurburgring, it's not easy. It's quite tight, and there is every potential for someone behind you to miss a break or someone behind them to miss a break. And then, these cars just kind of cue ball into each other. So I'm not saying there's going to be, like, pandemonium at turn one, but I'm not ruling it out either.
Yeah, whoa, I think Yanyo just had a big spin on my, there we go.
Oh!
Just spun,
Oh,
so
dangerous
get out the way
place,
of
too.
Raphael Huel. No, Andy Huel's out the way. But Huel's on half a second up at the minute. Oh, I think he's lost a bit of that through the last corner. No, I think he's carried a bit too much speed. Never mind, he's still a 10th up on his time though, so still going to improve. He's got, as just how Christian there, just doing the maths for me there, 2-minute lap time, 1 minute to go. That obviously equates to, if my calculations are correct, 1 extra lap for Raphael Huel and the rest. But a bit squirrely through there, but I think we said that before. Certainly in second and first gear, these cars are a handful to drive, and he's just had another spin.
There we are.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about. These cars in the slow speed corners on corner exit, when the torque's starting to build, it is a lot. It is enough just to get the wheels spinning, at least even in the dry. And as you say, Phil, we have driven these in the wet. They are not easy. These things are stressful from start to finish. So
I was actually going to say that race we did at Alton was changeable, and because it was rain into dry, I think that everyone went with the big brain strategy of starting on slicks, which was even more demanding. So obviously wet conditions, no traction control, on slick tires. It was not a race for a race of survival more than a race of racecraft and car control, I'd say.
Yeah, that's it. And I have a feeling this race is going to be very similar. I mean, I know we're sort of talking about a race that the audience might not necessarily, might not even know about. But, with the experience that, we had with it, yeah, this is going to be, oh, there we go. There's complete sideways, opposite lock and everything. That was...
I think he's celebrating because Boardman's only 7/10.
That's just showing off. That is excellent car. It's excellent car control, really, if you think about it.
It is, but it also goes to show as well that you can get some slip angle on this car. Like you can get it at least a little bit sideways in a regular GT3. You get it. Christian. Christian
I'm allowed to say what he said on stream.
That's it. I can't repeat that, but yeah, going through to the standings now. I'm sorry, guys. That's the thing when you got Christian in the box. It's always pandemonium. But no, the overall standings for the GT4 Silver class cars, you've got Christoph Verstappen in first place with 129 points, followed by Jordan Daly in P2 with 90. In third place, we've got John Arazer with 83 points, and Spoda Skrillex in the Camaro GT4 in fourth place with 67 points. And I believe everyone else at this point has signed out, or at least the people on this page have signed out the championship so far.
Next up we have the GT4 AM, which is headed up by Rudy Philmorter with 115 points. Neil Pimlott follows in 108. Third place, Tom Watts, 80 points. Then fourth is Mike Redford with 85. Mitch Castor rounds up the top 5 with 75 points. Max Forster still not showing up. I don't think we have Max Forster today, but Max Forster on 54 points. Matthew Malcolm, 7th, 49. Van der Wood in 8th with 43 points. Andrew Harby, 38. And Sarah Stant rounds up the top 10 with 34 points. And finally, Les Stevenson, who I believe has signed out of this championship, rounds up the class in P11.
And the Cup Series Championship, the Porsche Cup cars, led by Andy Boardman, 133 points in the 69. It's a nice amount of points. It's a nice car number as well. George McDonald in second place, 102 points to their name. And in third place, Yan Yo, who sits on pole today, 83. Of course, they will have several more now by virtue of being on pole. Raphael Huell in fourth place, 81 points. Andreas Vick Osselin with 75. Vitor Marcos and John Doe Germany have no points, but have made the championship and are here today by virtue of mid-season signups. Everybody else, of course, has retired from the championship. I'm going to ask the question, guys. Yanyo, on the pole position here today, can they make a late season push and win this championship? If they do well today, if they win the race today, get max points, I think it's possible. What are your thoughts?
I think it's possible, especially if the weather holds up and the sky keeps falling. That wasn't an insignificant margin at the end of the day. I was at 0.3 faster than Raphael Huell. Again, very quick driver, and then ahead of championship leader Boardman already. So if they can keep the consistency up, I think ultimately for everyone it's going to be a race of attrition. But I wouldn't rule anything out.
Yeah, I mean, see, my mind's actually. With something that Jesse Lee said halfway through that standings then. Oh, is it John Doe Germany or are we calling him John Doe?
I mean, his last name's Germany, isn't it? On the thing, you call what they are on the thing.
Mr. Germany, okay.
It is Mr. Germany, indeed. Well, if you don't recognize this part of the racetrack, well, I don't know what to say. It's my favorite racetrack in the world, at least the ending bit of it. At least, and well, this is the old Nordschleife as it returns back to the Grand Prix Strecke. Under the bridge and around the barriers, you see the final turn of the Grand Prix Strecke. What a fantastic track this has been in its entirety. Coming up on about 25 years in a few years for this particular race course, and it has made certainly a lot of memories. Might we make them today? I think we will indeed. The championship in GT4 AM, very much alive, so very close there. And of course, with drop rounds, anything is possible in the other two categories. We don't believe we're going to be crowning any champions here today. We'll have to wait until the finale in 1 week to do that. My question for you, Phil and Austin, quite simple. Porsche Cup cars probably going to go like hell here and try and get out of their own way. If you are a GT4 car, if you are starting in the middle of the spray, it's going to be very hazardous, raining very heavily. What are the keys to survival here for lap 1?
Probably at least 1 foot looking at your brake pedal coming into lap 1, I'd say, or the turn 1 certainly. It's just about being careful, making sure you don't hit anybody, looking out for sides of cars when you shouldn't be seeing the side of a car. But yeah, it's just, as I said, just looking out for number 1 first, and then just assuming everyone around you is going to spin or do something silly at some point. But yeah, that's probably my only advice to the drivers, Jesse.
Yeah, again, I echo the same thoughts. Just kind of take it cautious, at least, at first, let the tires warm up, let yourself warm up, get into the rhythm and the flow of things, get into the flow of traffic, and then start just dialing up the aggression. So, as I say, a race of attrition, it's a case of just keeping it clean. You don't want any unnecessary contact. You don't want people, you're trusting people to not make contact with you. So, if everyone plays by the same rule book, it should be okay.
weather report's quite simple for this race. It's been chucking it down the entire time. And for, at minimum, the first 30 minutes of this race, it's not going to change. I'm going to hazard the guess that it isn't going to change for the entire duration. It's going to be heavy rain. In fact, it's only going to get worse as the race continues to go on. And as we already saw, grip is already at a premium. Phil, Yanyo, excellent starting spot. Raphael Huell, though, has proved that they can keep up with the best of them. Is qualifying the end-all, be-all here, or can Huell, Boardman, or the like do anything about this?
Well, qualifying is really just about being able to set up one lap. And as we've seen at the very end of qualifying, as much as that's just a bit of anecdotal evidence, but Huell and Yo both demonstrated that consistency may not be their strongest point. Obviously, ultimate pace between them. They've got the jump on Andy Boardman at the minute, but haven't seen much of Boardman in qualifying, but we haven't captured any spins either from him. So, as we keep saying, it's going to be survival of the fittest, and whoever spins the least will probably win this race.
Yeah, I mean, as we're about to start the race, qualifying just being a one-lap deal, and a race is a very different story. And speaking of the race, lining up, waiting for the green flag, it's going to be a stressful moment. There it is. There's the green. And so far, no one really having a blistering start. Everyone's being a little bit cautious on the throttle, understandably so. And I believe that's Bobbin going down the middle there, just trying to get out of the spray, making a move onto Raphael Huell, having the inside line. I don't know if it's going to be enough to actually make the move stick. It looks like it is. A little wiggle from Bobbin coming out of turn one there. But ultimately fairly uneventful so far. Huell fighting back inside corner, going through the Mercedes arena. And that might be Huell. There we go. Yeah, no, Huell will tuck in front. And that will settle the order off the bat there.
Ooh, Huell's had a bit of a moment coming out of the stadium section as we move to Phil Malta there, who's now right behind. I think that's John O'Reilly just ahead of him. I'm not sure if he's taken Mike Redford. I think he has actually. That's Mike Redford's Alpine just behind Phil Malta there, I'd say. So Phil Malta's got the jump and leading Am GT4 at the minute.
Well, that was just about as good as that start was ever going to be. No major contact as far as we could see. No slow cars, no spun cars, no slow cars, no yellow zones, all of that. None of it as clean as you like, and some good racing to boot early on into the race. The Kvetch cars fighting for position there. The very bright, sunny yellow cars in this dreary day, very obviously easy to pick out. They were going side by side to pick up some spots as well. All of that very nicely done. In fact, they're still doing that as they come into the Schumacher S's. That's some incredible racing far into the pack as we continue with the Porsche Cup cars that are fighting their on 5-liter. Marcos here trying to get a position away from Vic Oslin and for the top 5 position. Yan Yo almost has a second pulled out from what appears to be Andy Boardman, as Raphael Huell fallen down the order to 4th place here. I think they have done. They're certainly down our leaderboard, and unless we're having the wool pulled over. No, there he is. He is down to 4th. An issue there for Raphael Huell. A front row starter has put them down several positions here.
Yeah, I think what that was, Jesse, was he had a bit of a moment coming out of the stadium section. I think we noted that just before we moved over to full motor, just at the start of the lap. But yeah, there's a pretty nice little defending there on Andy Boardman, but I think he's just a bit too hot on the old accelerator pedal coming out of that right-hander out of the stadium section.
That's John Doe falling down the order as well, actually making their way through GT4 cars at the moment, so should fairly quickly dispatch them, but that's going to set them back and set the GT4s back as well and cause a little bit of disruption down the field. John Daly as well, trying to make up a few more of those spaces. Redford falling down slightly a little bit there as well. Phil Malta still running in the top 3 of the GT4 class cars, with John Doe catching up fairly quickly at this rate. Daly going defensive against Skrillex in the 200 Camaro that you see back there. Very, very close indeed. And Phil Malta chasing down John O'Reilly, the 699 McLaren, going down down towards the hairpin.
I just noticed as well, Harvey in the 13 KTM, I think he's pitted already.
He has,
so I think
yeah.
I'm not sure if he's had an incident or if he just wants. And that is a strategy, maybe. I mean, I've used it in the past as well. Sometimes you find yourself going a bit faster if you just have a nice clean bit of track in front of you, not sitting behind someone's spray. slowing you down potentially if you can't see very well. So maybe Harvey's just thinking, I'll just get my pit out of the way with early. I'm not going to have much spray, and I fancy myself going faster on my own than with other drivers slowing down in their spray.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that personally. If you're not so confident in your car, and you may have mentioned earlier the KTM isn't the best car to race into the wet, it's already a bit skittish in the best of times. Maybe you don't want to be in the middle of the pack fighting for positions. Maybe it's just easier to get your pit stop done. And yeah, it is a long 56 minutes after you get that stop done, but at least you're not near anybody and you can make time. And if you're making decent lap time, you're going to end up theoretically back where you started at least. And if other people have issues, maybe they're stuck in traffic like we see Vitor Marcos still stuck behind Vic Osland here. You never know. If somebody in the GT4 class is doing that, you might gain big on them. I would personally think that is a strategy call and a good one to boot. Rudy Philmalter here already in the lead, of course, of the GT4 AM class. Might be thinking about a little bit more here on John Arazer, who's second place in his class and definitely doesn't want to give up this spot and be behind a car he's not even fighting, especially considering he can still see Verstappen. But by the way, that Chevrolet is absolutely flying here.
Yeah, it's significantly faster, almost a full second ahead at this point. And no, Phil Malter at this point just making a statement, trying to get into the silver class cars. As you see Malcolm in the Alpine coming up to, that's the back of, wait, 38, that's Van der Wood. Yeah, okay, so but it seems like both the Maseratis are like a Dago yellow, and that was what happens when you find a puddle, my friends. That was aquaplaning, and well, you need a definition. There you've got it.
As you said, Austin, you can just about see, if we go to some of these aerial shots next time, you can just about see it here on your screen now. There's a bit of a dry line forming. It sounds a bit silly considering it's absolutely chucking it down, but you can see the little dry line forming as these cars push the water off the racing line. So obviously that ends up in the on the curb. So obviously if you end up nearly lost my words then, but obviously you just hit that little, even if you just kiss that curb a bit with your tyres, you could end up just facing the wrong way, or at least having a bit of a brown trousers moment, as Malcolm found out there.
That's it, and it's also the fact that the curbs are painted as well. And it doesn't, you think paint actually that can't be a big deal, but in the wet, paint becomes very, very slippery, and it's enough just to spin the rear tires up. But no, the definition of aquaplaning is basically water plus car equals scary. So that was Malcolm finding that out the hard way.
You just do math on the Thursday, champ? That's incredible.
You just do maths in front of Jesse Lee.
Yeah, I'm immediately impressed. But I will tell you this. Not only is there puddles on the corners of the racetrack and the painted curbs, all that's absolutely correct. There's also some rivers now forming on the track. Look at this huge puddle here in the Mercedes-Benz Arena. You saw it there, and there's a river I'm talking about. That's not necessarily a puddle. That's just where the water is running from one side of the track to the other. There's another one right here. There it is. That is running from one side of the track to the other. You got to be careful about those as well. If you're turning the steering when you hit that, it will just cause you to loop the car. There is no coming back from that, and it's just as bad as hitting a puddle in that instance. Treacherous here. We always talk about racing the racetrack. Never more important to race the racetrack and respect the racetrack than in the rain.
That's it. I remember actually watching a stream with one of Aris's streams actually a while back, basically saying that at least for Kyalami, even the draining system for that track is accurate to what it is in real life, or something along those lines. So I'm wondering if it's the same for all the tracks. If like the way the tracks dry out and the way the tracks behave in the wet, if that's simulated to real life too, and it gives this game that extra layer of depth, and it gets to the point where you can't really call it a game anymore. It really, truly is a simulator.
I think one thing you probably found that Jesse Lee pointed out just at the start, there was a bit of water going across the exit of the Mercedes-Benz Arena. That's actually some water over some painted line there, so I'm not sure if they're just modelling water struggling to... nearly said I'm trying to think of the right word now, but just like going into the tarmac. Tarmac kind of acts like a bit of a membrane, not so much like a pure membrane, but water can seep into the tarmac. It's always designed to be cracks in there. Water can pass through it into the ground below, so that's why you don't really see that much water forming on top of it. But yeah, we move away from the science lesson, or a bit of a science lesson, and see Victor Marcos is still behind Vic Olsen. I think John Doe Germany is catching up with this pair, though.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be there in terms of lap times. John Doe having cleared the GT4 field now, and a little bit sideways there coming over the rise. Coming to the rise is kind of scary at the best of times in these cars. Any change in elevation, again, is enough just to spin the rear wheels up. There's John Doe catching up there in the blue and white car just in the background. As we're riding on the rear wing of Impressive Vic Osland. Yeah, no, it is Marcos trying to find a way around it. This is where the track narrows, and this is where the job gets harder. Osland going defensive, sticking to the inside line. That gives Marcos the better line coming out, but not able to actually capitalize on that. And all the while, John Doe catching up.
Certainly getting a bit spicy at the minute. As Jesse said before, though, you're sort of racing you're racing the track more than your competitors.
Oh!
Vic Osland's gone.
Oh,
it's going to be a big one!
Yeah, I think he just about recovered it from hitting the wall there. But yeah, so I think Vic Olsen just put 2 tires on the gravel there. Not sure if anybody's done this in their car. Do not try this at home, what I'm about to say, of course. But if you've ever been a bit stupid and driven through a puddle in real life, you'll notice that half the car suddenly just resisting you, and that's probably what happened then. I think Mike Redford's had a bit of an off.
Simultaneously, Phil. No,
Yeah,
I don't
sorry.
think they hit anything, but simultaneously while we were watching that accident with was that I don't remember which Porsche that was. It was Vic Osland, indeed, in the 36. At the same time, on the opposite side of the racetrack, Mike Redford was sideways on his way down into the Dunlop hairpin, and he's almost lost it again as Redford. That has dropped him from 2nd place in class to all the way down the order to 17th overall. That brings Neil Pimlott up into 2nd, Tom Watson to 3rd in that class. Scary moments here as that car has the handling's obviously gone away from him now.
I was about to say, Jesse, do you remember what Alpine's heritage in motorsport is?
Yeah, it's rally
discipline?
racing.
Yeah, rally racing. So maybe Mike Redford's just doing a bit of a tribute there to the Alpines of yesteryear.
Are you saying we're expecting both Alpines to start becoming faster just by driving through the gravel?
I didn't say that. You said that, not me.
But no, of course, yeah, no. Legendary in the world of rallying with the Alpine A1, was it the A110S? So, yeah, amazingly beautiful car, and obviously the design of the GT4 still echoes that of the old car from the 60s. George McDonald running in P3, Boardman running P2, but very close together for the 66 and 69 Porsches going into the Schumacher S's. And Boardman, it's very rare we have to see Boardman having to go defensive, but here we are.
Being told.
Oh, sorry.
So just quickly, just being told from Joe Dauber in chat, 32 plus PSI for Mike Redford.
Ooh.
And Phil, you could probably give us some insight on that. But I'm gonna take a guess. Yeah, that'll do it.
So it sounds like he's got.
Oh!
What if we just need someone just go?
That was Rafael Hill. That was
Big
Rafael
fuel,
Hill having a big moment on the curb there, coming out of the. Was it through the S's? No, it was coming out.
Just coming onto the back straight. It's just onto the back straight there. As we see a John Doe now. As big, just everything's starting to light up now. As John Doe Germany here is just behind Victor Marcos. But going back to your point, Jesse, usually tires want to be about 30 psi, maybe 30.2, probably as much as you can go with these wet tires. So I think Mike Redford's driving on balloons at the minute by the sounds of it.
It's only going to get worse too as the dry line starts forming more. I mean, that we have seen the weather radar be incorrect too. Like, it has changed on us at various points. So it says it's got rain increasing, but you know, like by the end of this race, it could dry out. But then again, we do have a mandatory pit stop. which requires a tire. Is it a tire change or is it just 1 liter of fuel?
1 litre of water. It's just
It's just
water.
1
Bloody
litre.
hell! I've got just 1 litre of water. Just
That's
take on 1
right,
litre of
folks.
water.
This particular race, they'll be adding 1 liter of water. And look at this move. John Doe, Germany, to the inside of the arena, and he's just about got it to stick.
No.
Trying to go back through. Down the inside here is Marcos. Marcos getting it to stick as well, and has somehow recovered that. It looked a clear pass for John Doe, Germany, but Marcos says, not so fast, and comes back on him as they exit the arena. That's some excellent racing. Marcos is going wide on every single corner. He's inviting the overtake on the inside, but he pulls away so well that he doesn't actually get past. Though it looks certain, it isn't so.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I think John Doe may have thought that move was a bit unfair on Marcos. Maybe there was a bit of contact, but certainly not enough for the contact to be deemed an overtake with contact, at least from that position anyway. But we'll see. But either way, I think John Doe may have just given that position back in a sportsmanlike gesture there. Jesse maybe felt like it was unfairly acquired, should we say? But as we move here, Mike Redford's really giving Van der Werder a busy time at the minute. I'm not sure Van der Werder was expecting to have much to race today, but now having to fight the car as well as competitors on the track. As I think we've had a bit of a big accident.
no!
It's a big crash.
That was our race leader.
Yan Yo has had a big crash here coming out of the chicane. They were all by themselves in the lead of this race. What happens into the chicane looks normal here, and that looked pretty okay. Nothing too untoward there. There's another car. And it's the Maserati look. It's a huge crash. The Maserati was off right in front of the leader, and I believe that was Sarah Stant. Stan has retired the car. Yan Yo has had a huge crash there with, that was Sarah Stan. The flying hellfish car into the pit lane. Huge damage. Andy Boardman through to the lead. High drama here in the 45th minute.
That's heartbreaking. It's hard to say because obviously we only saw part of it. It did look like the Maserati had come to a rest in the center of the track, which fair enough. If they spun and that's where they landed and sort of waiting for a safe position, sometimes staying still and hoping that someone sees you and drives around you is sometimes the best thing to do. But if they were rolling forwards and trying to rejoin the track, then that might be considered an unsafe rejoin. So that'll be in the hands of the stewards. But no, for Janio, that's heartbreaking.
So I was going to say, Jesse Lee probably knows exactly what head steward Phil's reaction to that would have been, but obviously he can't come out for the in the comms box. But maybe we get demonetized and I'd probably never be invited here again. But we still got a race in our hands for P1 though. George McDonald is certainly keeping Andy Boardman honest. He's more than capable of doing it. We saw that at Watkins Glen last week. So and then Yanyo's not. He's pitted, so he's not. I'm going to be positive about this. Yanyo was running away with this. I'm not sure how much damage he's had from that accident with Sarah Stan, but hopefully not enough to lead him out of contention here. But obviously he's been fortunate enough. He's got a pit like everyone else. He's probably lost about. I'm going to say he's probably lost about 20 seconds. I'm going to put as a thing, so you'll probably catch back up. I'd say he's going to be about P4, P3, maybe. I think maybe the top two are out of sight, unfortunately for Jan there. But I don't know what it's like for him in that car because I don't think there was much he did wrong there.
No, I don't think so either. But no, there's a lot of factors at play here, Phil, as well. It's a case of that car was bouncing as it was coming down the pit lane, so it might be quite a little bit more significant than we think. But then at the same time as well, coming out in traffic too, so you've got traffic to sort of contend with and deal with. It's going to be a tough one, but they definitely did have the pace in clear air to pull this one off. So hopefully we can see something from them. These tyres do last a fair while too, so they can go to the end of the race in these conditions on the same set of tyres. So that should save a little bit of time, but only time will tell.
I'm just absolutely flabbergasted by what we've just seen. The leader of the race involved in a huge crash. It's reset this race. and let us help you reset with what's happened here. Grease Weasel Racing now. Andy Boardman leads this race, but there's almost nothing in it. Back to second place, George McDonald, Joker Racing, right there with him. The fight for the overall win here today. And again, just absolutely devastating for Yan Yo. Could have gotten themselves back into the championship conversation today, would have got themselves back into the championship conversation today, but it just doesn't look like it's in the cards. The positive, if there is any to take from this, is the 48 has stayed in front of Harvey in the 13, which means that however long that pit stop was, it wasn't enough to put them behind the only other car that had pitted, meaning that it could have been worse, is what I'm trying to say. George McDonald, though, even with out the accident, George McDonald was coming, the quickest car on the racetrack, speed juice fastest lap thus far. That's what the magenta number 2 means for him, and that's pretty much the long and short of it for that. But other than that, absolutely speechless. Verstappen leading in the GT4 Silver class over a Razor, 3.7 seconds. No fight going on for that particular position. Rudy Philmalter leading in the AM class over Pimlott and Watts right now. And just, again, incredible scenes.
Speak of the devil there, Jesse, it's Neil Pimlott there. Just still I'll tell you what, I think I said this at Kyle Army. I get weirded out by the way the Aston's wipers work. It just throws me off. I don't know what it is. It just absolutely, I don't like it at all. But I think the GT3 one just has one that just goes across the windscreen. Just I don't know why I'm doing the bloody wiper motion when you can't see me. But yeah. So P2 in class, he's what's that, about 7 and a bit seconds behind Phil Moulter at the minute. But yeah, I just went back on the replay just to give a quick timer of how much Yo was in the pits. It was 40 seconds in pit lane for Yan Yo. So I think I still am a bit positive about his race. I think he's going to become at least P5, I'd say, looking at his pace and looking at the pace relative to Marcus and Vic Orsland there. So yeah, I wouldn't say all is lost for Yan Yo, but yeah. But anyway, we move on. As everyone else is doing, at least going on in the races. If we go back to Pim, Watt and Skrillex.
That's it. As Wolf Motorsport said in the chat, comeback drive. I mean, yeah, that right now, that's the best thing Yan Yo can hope for. And looks like they've already jumped a few places since coming out. Obviously running a P14 now, chasing down Tom Watts, Neil Pimlott. Again, as we say, chasing down Skrillex in the 200 Camaro. Heading towards the hairpin, not this corner, but the corner afterwards. Yeah, no, definitely seems to have the pace. The Aston, very stable in the wet, actually, surprisingly. But as I've already said before, Camaro, total boat too. Great low-end torque and very, very quick coming out of the corners. And, Skrillex just missing apex just slightly, but this corner is cambered, will pull the cars round. And I suppose the hunt continues in a way.
I was going to say one thing that the Camaro does lead itself quite well in these sort of conditions is, I think because it's quite high up, it's literally on stilts, but also the suspension's quite soft in the Camaro as well. So it does lend itself quite well to the sort of like weight transfer that you need for these sort of conditions. You need a lot more of it. You don't need, I mean, these cars don't really have much aerodynamic grip anyway, but the aerodynamics don't really lend themselves well to wet conditions for these cars anyway, because you're going a lot slower in general. But yeah, Camaro should be a bit stronger around here, but Pimlott's certainly giving my statements room for money at the minute. But yeah, it's very, very racy at the minute with Skrillex.
Yeah, obviously because it's soft, it's also good on the curbs, as demonstrated by Skrillex. They haven't got a little bit defensive there going down into the final chicane. But no, Pim not able to make anything stick there. And I think this is going to be one of the fights to watch. But let's bear in mind as well, Pimlott doesn't even need this position. Pimlott is in the AM class, Skrillex being in the silver class. So even if Pimlott gets through, there's no extra points on the table, really, not unless they get past Phil Malta as well. So, and they're a good almost 10 seconds behind for that. So I mean, I suppose at this point, if Pimlott's putting in faster times, if you're Skrillex, what do you do? Do you let them through and see if they can take their own fight to Phil Malta, or do you keep them behind and just hope that you're not holding each other up?
So I was going to say bit weird there, but yeah. But as we see Jan Yo here, I think he just got past. I think he was behind Redford and Malcolm and Vanderwood. He's managed to make his way past all of them at the minute. So at least he's progressing quite well through the GT4 field. Only has Tom Watts. And as Tom Watts, the spray of Tom Watts is Ginetta just ahead of us there, or at least I think it is. But yeah, at least recovery drive's still on. Decent pace as well, Jesse Lee.
Yeah, it really is. Going back to Jan for a second, most importantly for his championship hopes, he hasn't given up here. He's going to continue to try and battle this out. One of the fastest cars on the racetrack. And he might be on average lap faster than McDonald. McDonald has the quickest single lap, of course, but it may not be the quickest overall pace. And the way that Yo is just driving through this field, I mean, it's obviously he's going to do that. He's in a Porsche Cup car. It's quicker, but the point is that he's making really good time. And you might not be able to say that about some of the other competitors here today. So you got to keep hope and you got to keep with it. And also not quitting, super important here for Jan, and fighting spirit here. And we'll see just how far up he can go. I think if he continues this pace, I don't think he'll be last in the class. He might get a top 5. A podium, I think, is a little bit stretched too far. But then again, I have been wrong before. Do bear in mind the rain getting, I almost said wetter. Can you believe that? I almost said wetter. The rain's getting wetter. The rain's getting stronger all of the time.
I'm pretty sure there is a measurement for wetness of water.
Oh, baby! Yeah, and I think Jan's the measuring stick right now, and it's definitely the rain is wet. Go ahead and quote me on that. But Flying Hellfish car continuing to go around. McDonald has fallen off the back of Boardman just a little bit. It was 7/10 at the last trap, and now it's 8/10 into the third sector. We'll see what it is here at the line. It definitely looks closer than that now. Looks like McDonald might have made up a significant portion of time here. And, well, I say that, and he has made up a little bit of time in Sector 3. A little bit less than a tenth. 5.2 seconds between the GT4 Silver leaders right now. He's done it! It's a huge slide. We saw Yo do it the last time through. McDonald does it here and loses more time. That is music to Andy Boardman's ears as he will further gap the second place car. And my goodness, what a race it's been. We're not even halfway, and the cars are struggling to hang on now, guys.
I don't know if it's so much the cars, but the drivers. I mean, again, as we said, these cars are exhausting in these conditions. It requires so much concentration, and even driving at 80% of your potential, it's still, you still have to kind of be careful. You have to be conscious of every corner exit. So, especially on the Nurburgring, where you get a lot of speed going up, then you're braking zones like this, you slow the car down, down into second gear. Third at most, coming onto corner exit, you get the torque build up as well. So a lot of corners like that. It's an exhausting car. It's an exhausting car to drive in these conditions. So maybe it's not the cars that are dropping off, but maybe it's the drivers. And Pimlott again with McDonald and Boardman staring down at them, and probably going to be moving out the way fairly hastily at this point.
I think he's actually pitted, Neil Pimlott. So he's second GT4 to have pitted after Harvey, of course, and the Spoda Skrillex is now pitting in. I believe that's for. Was that? I think he was ahead. I think he was like second. It was like second or third in class. So yeah. So as we see, Pimlott here just come through the final chicane. He's Andy Boardman. I think McDonald here is probably. I haven't really talked much about multi-class racing in the web, but multi-class racing on its own, difficult enough as it is, and you just turn it up to 11 with the extra rain. I think Skrillex here just coming out of pit lane. I think Andy Boardman's going to be just coming onto our screen on the left-hand side, or just about there he is there. So I think a nice clean exit for Skrillex there, not having to worry about traffic out. But yeah, I'm not really sure if I'd be trying to lap a car on the outside through here, Andy, but yeah, nice nice little patience there. Always get cars on the exit. That's all I say about lapping cars. You want to try and focus on timing it so you just get them as you're coming out the corner, so you're not impeding each other. Yeah, very nicely done.
That's it. Great stop from Skrillex there as well, coming out in front of Redford, so hasn't actually lost too many positions. Tom Watts, actually no, it's actually I think that's just the okay, no, coming out in front of Pinbot, sorry. Yeah, no, getting a little bit confused there with the order. It's still sort of equalizing itself out, so it looked like a great stop from Skrillex, but might not have been as good as I thought initially. Janio, especially now within the top 10, and only a few more GT4s ahead to catch up to the rest of their pack, and a little bit dicey there with Jordan Daly coming towards the final hairpin there. Daly slowing down to hit the title line to take the pit lane. Jordan Daly coming into the pits, and then that's Eraser ahead as well. So it's only 2 more GT4 cars until Yeo hits the GT3 field, and Raphael Huel has pitted as well at some point along the way.
I'm going to point out that when Jordan Daly came into the pits, he had his right indicator on there. That's another little thing for people to take note of, is when you do pit, just having Christian Stricker there with his constant quipping there about BMWs and indicators. But yeah, one little tip for people, so people know you're going into pit lane: always indicate to go into the pit lane if you've got someone behind you, so at least they don't try and send it to you when the pit lane's on the opposite side of the track. Janio there, neatly getting past John Eraser. Still, Huel has pitted, so trying to get an idea of how far they are. We'll probably get an idea in a bit. I'm going to have a look on my monitor just how far behind Yeo is to Huel, but I suggest it's probably a depressingly big number for Jan Yeo at the minute.
Yeah, it would seem just like that, and well, it's a mountain to climb. And I just wanted to bring that up as a point, like if you find there's a bit of a commentary flow going, and then all of a sudden it's kind of just stopped and broken, it's probably Christian saying something in our ear and trying to contain ourselves a little bit, because Christian's actually a really funny person. They should hop on the broadcast more.
That's probably just that's not an invitation that he probably wants at the minute, but as we move on to
here's the thing, guys. Christian doesn't want to be going out live, because this way he can say whatever he wants.
That's it. It's like if we're responding to something that isn't there, it's like we're talking to a higher deity or something. Well, then again, it's Christian. It is a higher deity.
We're basically talking to the devil on our shoulder. That's what Christian is at the minute. It's not. We don't have an angel today. We just have a devil. That is it. But if we do hear constant "send it" every time we see someone, people go side by side.
Was that a Christian Stricker impression?
No.
Christian literally shouting "send it" into our ears as Janio.
Oh no!
That's Huel.
Mistake here. Raphael Huel in the 21 in the hairpin. This is a long replay. No, it's before the hairpin.
No.
It's before the hairpin. That's exactly where Redford went off a little while ago, and I suspect the accident looked very similar.
That's it. Just dipping 2 tires onto the grass and the gravel, just trying to open up the corner, and just going a little bit too far with it. As you said before, Phil, it's kind of like when you drive into a puddle, one side of the car, like those wheels lose momentum, and then the car spins rammed on its axis. Kind of like how imagine how a tracked vehicle like a tank would turn by rotating the outer track. Essentially, that's what you get with the cars as well, and that's pulled Huel straight into the gravel and round, and that has cost them a fair bit of time. Jan Yeo, literally the next car down the road now, having cleared the GT4 field. So Yeo on a bit of a stunner as John Doe. Again, speaking of comeback drives, let's not forget, John Doe did drop down the order at the start of this race. They did drop into the GT4 field. So
I think he started last, Austin.
That might also be a thing. So yeah, no, that's a wow. Just wow.
Wow.
There's certainly been some comeback drives there, I'm guessing.
There really has, Phil. It's one of those, and you may be wondering why Yan continues to drive at a high level. He's out there digging these sideways off of a lot of these corners. We saw that earlier. Why is he driving that hard? Simply because the future is not certain. Raphael Huell, John Doe Germany, Marco, even Boardman, McDonald, any of those drivers could stuff it off of the racetrack at any given point. And here is Yo up a spot here in the mayhem of it all. Will get at least one spot back in his own class as he is able to pass what I believe to be Vic Osland in the 36. And there you go. But even more so, you don't know what's going to happen to the cars in front of you. You can't know that. It's unknowable. It's a known unknown. So you got to keep going and hope. You would never really wish bad will towards anybody racing it. The best case scenario is you race them head to head and you beat them. But still, in a situation like this, you had a rough race. You're just hoping that it's rough or tough for your competition too, so you can get back in it.
Yeah, that's entirely it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all racers. As much as we'd love an easy way out, it's nowhere near as exciting as fighting for it wheel to wheel. And Boardman catching up to that's one of the it's one of the Alpines. I can't tell if that is
Malcolm.
Redford or if it's I'd say it's Malcolm. You're right.
Redford,
It's Redford. No, Redford in the 95. Both cars running the same livery, but they're part of the same team. So it's the only differentiating factors will be the potentially the LED light strips up the top of the windscreen there, and the race number. So that means that Boardman is a fair chunk of the way through the GT4 field now. It's about halfway through. So, you know, still a lot of traffic to fight through, a lot of traffic to go with 25 minutes. And the front two cars have still yet to pit. Marcos, running in P3, has just pitted. So are we going to see John Doe potentially take a podium here?
I think he's on a bit of a run at the minute. Marcos has just dropped down. Going to come out ahead of Yo at this moment in time. I think by about, I'm going to say about 20 seconds, I'm going to guess at that point. But we'll see when Yo and Marcos cross the first sector line. Yeah, so so that's is your target, Yan Yo, if you P5. But yeah. But going back to John Doe at the minute, very impressive drive from last place at the minute. Currently P4 or P3 now, actually, when the time and tower updates. Probably is going to get I mean, to be honest, his driving does deserve a podium. It's just unfortunate that part of it had to come from a bit of an avoidable incident for Yo, but yeah, take nothing away from John Doe's driving at the minute. It's been a commendable drive so far.
I mean, Phil, you say that, but, you know, we still have 20 minutes of the race left to go, and Boardman and McDonald are still yet to pit, and Doe being, I believe, on the last of the deltas that we saw was 33 seconds behind. This is possible. Like, this is more than possible that John Doe might not get around the two up front, but at least might catch up to it, or at least come close to catching up. So anything can happen at this point.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's not unheard of, but I think if we just have a quick look at his current race, his last lap was a 207.4. Not sure that was with traffic or not, but Boardman and McDonald certainly were in traffic, and they were doing 208.8 and a 208.8 for McDonald and for Boardman and McDonald respectively. So maybe he has the pace, but I don't think he has the pace to make significant inroads. But as you say, they're still going to make a pit stop, and there is plenty to go wrong in a pit stop.
That is it. I mean, you don't know if the other guys are going to have a bit of a coming together with either themselves or traffic. You don't know if they've got damage already that, you know, they might already have. We might have missed something off cameras too. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, no, it's going to be a real tense last 20 minutes of Verstappen. Only 5 seconds, I say only, but in relative terms, only 5 seconds ahead of a Razor. So a Razor will, in some ways, be keeping Verstappen honest. Verstappen, obviously, an amazing driver as well. Both these guys are. But Razor getting very out of shape on the curves. It's a faster chicane than it looked, but it's not that fast. But Yeah, no, it's that point in the race where everyone's a little bit spaced out and strategy starts to come into play, and it starts kind of just evening out. If you look at the track map, you can see exactly what I mean. There's very few clusters of cars actually fighting wheel to wheel, but one of those cars right now is Tom Watt catching up to Pimlop in the 140 Aston, coming down into the not the final, the second to last chicane of the circuit. I mean, yeah, that's about the most action actually going on right now until we get closer to the end stages of this race.
Well, as you might expect, I have been doing the maths on this occasion, and I do have some maths for you, and unfortunately, they contradict what I said during the pace lap of this race. We could have a couple of championship clinching moves here today. And quite frankly, I just didn't see it coming if Andy Boardman goes on to win this race, and keep in mind, it's still within doubt here as we enter the final third of the race. But if he were to go on and win this race, he would just about clinch the championship in the Porsche Cup class. McDonald would score about 36 points. If he didn't clinch, it would only be by a few points that he would be denied Andy Boardman. So essentially, he would only have to show up in the final week and run 85% of the race and be guaranteed the championship no matter where he finishes in his class at that point. That's how easy it would be if he didn't clinch. It all depends on what McDonald does now.
Yost won again.
Oh no!
Oh, he's kept it. He's kept it. It's fine. Sorry, he spun. I was just looking at the other monitor. He just about caught the exit curve. There you go. So just about, but did manage to save it. Didn't need to pit again though, thankfully. So not that much time lost. I don't think. You still catch you with Marcos at a healthy rate. Probably lost about a second and a half with that little incident there. But looking at it just on my second once alive, that was a bit of a scary moment, certainly.
That's it. I mean, it's not been an easy race for you at all. I mean, first, the contact with the Maserati, and that's McDonald going slightly wide, bouncing over the gravel there, and fatigue really setting in. And also, something that wasn't the case really at the start of this race, going wide again on the exit the final chicane there, but something that wasn't apparent at the start of this race, but it's becoming apparent now. It's starting to get a little bit dark as well, and I know in the grand scheme of things that doesn't really mean too much, but the perception of the track can change very slightly, and in these conditions, in these cars, that could lead to some spicy moments.
Talk about spicy. That's very spicy there from George McDonald. Managed to catch up with Anthony Boardman though. Full credit to him after that little spin. Just at this point of the track, obviously, probably about
he was
about
more
5
than 3 seconds back, Phil. At one point, he continued to fall back. He has made all of that time back up.
So, indeed, Jesse, it's a full credit to George McDonald there to keep this gap nice and short there in the 66 as he's still fighting that car. He's still fighting that car. We're talking. I was going to bring this up before, but about Verstappen having to fight other people to earn those race wins last week and the week before that, but now he's having to fight the conditions, and you can just about see George McDonald probably demonstrating his best at the minute, just how much he had to fight some of this. And you can see, we'll talk about this before at the start of the race, but you can just see this just sheet of spray just in front of George McDonald here. Very difficult sometimes to see where you're going, and you probably think, you can just see that car just fine in front of us, but you're not really looking for the car sometimes. You're looking for your brake marker, you're looking for your turning marker, looking for your apex. And sometimes they're just, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You're really close to the car behind, but you just can't see anything out of this wing mirror sometimes. This windscreen sometimes.
That's it, and you can barely see that brake light of Boardman ahead too. And something else I just want to kind of point out as well, and something I've noticed, something kind of consistent. Christian, if we can go back to the rear wing of Boardman for just a moment. That's going slightly wide there, carrying a lot of speed. And something I've noticed is that McDonald is taking a slightly deeper line through a lot of these corners than Boardman. And I don't know if that's Boardman going defensive, or I don't know if that's McDonald, taking a slightly alternative line to prioritize the corner exit as opposed to the mid corner. But it does mean that they may be driving a little bit off the line at the moment too. So if there's a dry line forming, the racing line can sometimes be, at least in the wet, the worst place to be because there's a line of rubber down, and that gets incredibly slippery. So I'm wondering if McDonald's like slightly different lines is actually helping them find a bit of time here in the wet.
Oh my goodness,
This is a
jam
freeway.
here. This is not, we're 3 wide in the box. They're nearly 3 wide on the racetrack. The Chevrolet's going to go a bit wide, inviting the Aston up the inside. Can Neil Pimlott make a spot up here on a car that he's not technically racing, but is on this occasion? He has to get around Skrillex to go and fight Malcolm and the like. Will he do it? They are 3 wide as the little Alpine goes through. And, excuse me, that's a Porsche Cup car, excuse me. I'm not wearing my glasses. Either way, the Porsche does get through, and we're still 2 wide, fighting over what is effectively 14th place. Neil Pimlott, the street art racing car, is able to get around the Chevrolet and will get that spot. Do bear in mind, that doesn't pay more points, but that's a pass he had to make, Neil Pimlott, because eventually, when the rest of the cars in his class pit, they are going to likely be fighting each other. Speaking of fighting each other, Joker Racing trying to make this move on Andy Boardman. George McDonald has been a bridesmaid. They've been a the ring
Flower
bearer.
girl.
I almost said flower girl. They've not been that. They've definitely been a ring bearer. I do apologize for that. They've been everything except in the wedding themselves. They've finished 3rd. They finished 2nd. Man, would they like to win one here. Sketchy moment here with the Ginetta, but they all make it through. Was that wide enough to give George McDonald a run? He's thinking about going the outside. He was given the lane by Boardman. McDonald didn't take it. A better line through there by McDonald went over the curves, and he's looking down to the inside of the Coca-Cola curve. Can't find it. Blocked off by Boardman there. Absolutely hungry. Somebody get this man a sandwich.
But they're pulling into the slipstream, heading down towards turn 1 now, and no, McDonald trying to find anywhere around, pulling out to maybe take a look on the inside. Christian's telling me to send. Christian's shouting, send it.
It's the big send. He sent it too much. Boardman's gonna spin it.
What is this?
Andy Boardman spins it, trying to do the crossover in turn number 1. The Greased Weasel racing driver just saw his championship clinching hopes evaporate here in the thin air. No damage, but the damage done on the scoreboard. George McDonald leads here in the penultimate round of this championship.
I'm lost for words because McDonald's. I was just about to say McDonald sent it way too hard. Christian shouting, screaming, he sent it into our ears. But no, it looked like McDonald sent it way too hard, overshot the corner. Boardman had to take an alternative line to try to work their way around McDonald, who had just overshot. And then that pushed Boardman into the inside where the camber kind of falls away from you. In combination with it being wet, in combination of the car having no traction control whatsoever, McDonald almost losing it on the exit curb there as well, almost throwing away that opportunity. But no, a mix of situations coming into play here, and McDonald, one very, very lucky driver to get away with all of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say McDonald, but Finn McDonald. Boardman probably saw exactly what Jesse Lee said, and we've just had a DT for Andy Harvey there, as I was doing there. So that is a penalty for track limits. There's no live stewarding for this race, just to reiterate that. But yeah, I think Boardman probably saw, as Jesse Lee said, the switch back on. I think he just had a bit too keen and bit too greedy on his throttle pedal there, and he paid the price for it. As a bit of a, as we see John Doe here, he's I'm not sure if he's catching up with Raphael Hewell at the minute, but he's just about there in his sights there. So maybe a podium is on for John Doe Germany in his first race on this championship. Wow. His first race, not the first race of this championship. I should say that. Sorry.
We've seen 2 leaders have incidents today, and both of them weather related in one arena or another. One again completely not their fault in my opinion, but even still that was weather related that caused that Maserati to spin, so it's still weather. And now you have McDonald, who you gotta say is just as a deserving winner as anybody else, has ran such a great race, has been incredibly aggressive in these weather conditions. And now might we see Raphael Hewell go to 2nd place and John Doe Germany go to P3. we're going to see, no, it hasn't worked out that way. John Doe Germany in third place. Boardman has enough of a gap to stay in second place. Raphael Huell in third now. And I probably wouldn't have called that from the 21, but there you have it in third place. Just goes to show you the pace that they had. I was talking about doing the championship mass, and one of the other bits of that I wanted to finish was Christoph Verstappen can also clinch a championship here today if they've had a perfect day, and well, they just about have. They've not been troubled by anybody out there in the gold Chevrolet, the Verstappen Motorsports car, and they could clinch as well if the score stands, or the order stands, with McDonald winning over Boardman. The championship in the Cup competition will not be settled today. But again, I'll say it again, if things stay the way they are in the GT4 Silver class, Verstappen will be champion-elect today.
Yeah, I was going to say he's probably a bit bored today compared to the last two races he's had, Jesse Lee. weather permitting, but yeah, it's a very lonely race for Christoph Verstappen at the minute.
But that also gives something to be said for Christoph as well. Something worth noting is just like they are so good at staying consistent. You know, in terms of just as a driver, getting the head down, getting on with it, keeping out of trouble, keep the car in a straight line. They are so good at what they do, and this is why that if this championship is decided today, they honestly, I'd say at this point they deserve it. They are so solid in how they approach racing, how they approach driving. And the results really do show.
I was going to say, usually GT4 races in RCI, you will usually see Christoph Verstappen somewhere near the entry list. Oh, God.
Are you okay, Phil? Are you dying? Are you dying live on there?
Phil, Morse code. 1 beep for yes, 2 beep no. Wait, it's the other way around, isn't it, actually? Oh my goodness, Phil Roberts sorting that out. But yeah, I agree with what he was talking about. Verstappen probably very bored, used to being in a dogfight for an entire hour. That just has not happened in this race. He's not only been by himself, he's not been bothered or troubled by anybody. He's seen the passing Porsche Cup car, but that is just about it for him. And that's the only worry for Verstappen, keeping it on the racetrack, which has been so treacherous today and now into the evening. And we haven't updated you on the weather simply because it's pretty consistent, and we expected it to rain throughout. It has rained throughout. There is a more raceable line. I will not call it a dry line. It is anything but that, but it's a less saturated line, I think we could all agree. But the Porsche Cup cars just absolutely sending it every chance they get. Very scary proposition. It's called them out a few times too.
Sorry, I'm back now. I just don't know. I have the mistake of not having something to drink while I'm talking for about an hour and a half. Yeah, but yeah. So as you see there, that's Huell on Daly there. Just that's a bit too spicy there from Raphael Huell there. But John Daly's probably, for God's sake, just get out of my way. Just go. You're in my way now. As yeah, probably just sent it a bit too hard.
Race Razor here, isn't he?
Yeah.
For second.
This is full class positioning. It's probably one of the more frustrating things about being in the lower classes is you're trying to fight someone and then suddenly someone in the faster class just can sometimes, I want to say, probably not going to say clumsily there, but John Doe Germany as well having a little bit of a spicy moment there. As we said before, one of the best ways to lap two cars in a slower class, just wait till corner exit. You don't need to send it through some of these corners.
That's it, especially when these cars are quick enough as it is, and the speed difference is there. I mean, look at this. Just the Porsche just walks by, going down on the start-finish straight there, and Daly being ultimately the big loser here as well, and maybe to a degree John Doe as well. John Doe, let's not forget, John is also catching up to Raphael Huell as well. John Daly trying to pass on the outside of Mercedes, going into the entrance of Mercedes Arena, and a little wiggle on the curb that we saw. Did Daly lose a little bit of time? I think they did. But no, Razor so far holding on to the lead of this little pack here. And yeah, I mean, yeah, there we go. So Razor will hold on to that, and Daly has to just give it another go.
Menacing BMW headlights in John Razor's rear view mirror at the minute. But yeah, this is for P2 in class. I'm not sure what's happened to Skrillex. So Skrillex was with Eraser and probably I think he was ahead of Daly as well. I'm not really sure what happened there. Maybe my own memory is failing me here at the minute.
Now, Phil, I do recall around the halfway point, Skrillex was in fourth, and I only noticed that because Daly was up to third place, and I did not catch what happened to the 200 Chevrolet at that time. I did notice that they've been there for the majority of this race in fourth place, but I have no idea what happened.
I do enjoy these cockpit views sometimes. You get to see
when you're not having to drive it.
Yeah, not when you're having to drive, no, but we get to see some of the steering wheel going on here. Because obviously, like, we talk about just how difficult these conditions are. You can see sometimes, like, these smooth inputs here from Jordan Daly. Just a little bit of corrections here and there, but not major ones. Probably see it more on the Porsche Cup cars more than on the GT4 cars without the luxury traction control to calm down that loud pedaled foot of yours, but yeah, we'll see here now as we just come through the final chicane now into the, what did you call this, Jesse? The Coca-Cola bend, is this called?
This is the Coca-Cola curve, yeah, the final corner, and as far as I'm concerned or aware, it's still called that, but either way, they're still going at it. I found it interesting, a couple laps ago, there were two different fights. That was Huel and Doe Germany fighting each other for a podium position, and then you also had the GT4 class fighting each other for a podium position. I thought everybody was very well behaved and mannered here. No fight was really changed because of it, and you still have this fantastic fight. Now remember, the last time we came through here, Daly took a wide arc as they exited the arena. Will he do it here? Yes, he will. Wider than Eraser defensive line. That will allow Daly to close right up to the back of him, but the inside line that Eraser took was slower, but allowed him to exit the arena a little bit quicker, and thus no time gain for either driver. Two very different lines through the arena, both of them effective, absolutely net neutral between the two of them as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, only 5 minutes of the race really remaining, so time running out for Daly to actually get to find a way through. But no, those corner exits, you were saying, Jesse, those slightly wider lines, the corner exits do seem like they are the more efficient way around this track right now, and you sort of just see a little bit of pulling ahead. But again, this track is so diverse in that, you know, it plays to both cars' strengths and weaknesses. These fast, high-speed corners, very, very good for the McLaren. But then in the slow speed, the softer suspension of the BMW is very, very good over the curbs too. So, you know, it's about finding that kind of balance between the two cars and picking a moment. And picking a moment is exactly what John Daly's trying to do. A little bit of a wiggle. Picked a moment. Speaking of picking a moment, I found a moment to do that too. And no, going back to what you were saying, Phil, those onboard cameras, that would have been great having that there because, no, I agree. They are so good for seeing what the driving inputs are. There we go. But I must admit, again, at the same time, it's easy to say that when you're not in the car, but otherwise, Phil, I guess you could say I never pegged you for a masochist.
So I must admit, one of the things to point out obviously is McLaren in front. I think these two cars arguably are the fastest in a straight line in GT4s, and one thing they both do struggle with is initial turning. One thing to note about the McLaren is has this really weird like fixed brake bias system, or at least I think it has fixed brake bias. You can't really change the brake bias in these cars because in the in real life the McLaren GT4 has like some sort of smart computer controlled brake bias rather than something the driver influences. Jordan Daly in his BMW has that luxury. He can go down to like 49% brake bias in that BMW. So obviously the more you shunt that brake bias backwards, you get so much more rotation on turning. Well, I think the McLaren's like stuck at like 50-something%. So may sound a bit like how to put it now, like may sound like, oh, it's only a couple of percentage. Does it really make a difference? It does really feel like it makes a lot of difference. So yeah, you do get a lot different characteristics as you go up and down the brake bias slider.
Worth mentioning here as well, the only car that has not completed their mandatory pit stop is your GT4 Silver Leader. That is Christoph Streppen, the Streppen Motorsport Chevrolet. They have to come in this time, and hopefully they have realized that, and they do. and that will complete the cycle of pit stops. Rudy Philmalter came in the lap prior in the 46 Ginetta, and of course they still are the leader in the GT4 AM class. Very interesting line into pit lane there by Verstappen. I don't know if he was trying to get a closer look at where the board was in the rain or what. The car certainly drifted there, but no harm, no foul. Oh, speaking of harm and foul, John Eraser there getting sideways. We saw Jordan Daly do this about a lap ago. It cost him mightily. Now using all of the curb there is Jordan Daly. Might lose a little bit of time. Had the advantage. Probably gave it up, and now they're back to even. It's going to be at minimum for these drivers one more lap of racing. This will be the last lap of the race.
But if you do stay with these two drivers for most of this, as we see Jordan Daly just come so close to the back of John Eraser, making sure he lets him know I'm still here. I think Jordan Daly coming out of that penultimate chicane probably took a bit too much gravel there, compromises his exit. But one thing we're probably not going to see, commentators curse coming in, but we're not going to see Jordan Daly send it through. One thing that BMW is not known for is how effective its brakes are. Not as bad as the Audi is, but certainly one of the least effective at stopping in a straight line is the BMW. But
Phil, you know Daly. Does he send it?
We'll see. We'll see in a bit. But,
our broadcaster says he's going to send it. Phil doesn't want to hazard a guess. Austin, is he sending it?
I think he's going to lick the stamp and send it. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think he's just going to send it. I think Daly is going to become the postman and almost all the way there. Eraser going wide. This is a next opportunity. I think that was Eraser getting a little bit sideways on the grass. It's Daly who managed to get the later apex, having a bit of a run and potentially an opportunity down into the hairpin. Eraser covering the inside. Eraser going defensive. And that will be Daly having an opportunity. Christian said,
he's going to send it.
It's Eraser going wide. It's going to be an opportunity down into the Schumacher S's. And I mean, at this point, you know, again, we've still got some hard braking zones coming up. This is not over. This is far from over. And this is exhausting watching, but this is amazing.
Leader of the race coming to get the checkered flag. It's going to be a win for McDonald. They've played second and third fiddle all season long, and they're going to win this race and preserve the championship fight in the Porsche Cup category. We stay here with GT4 Silver for second place. Oh, and he slid wide again for a second lap in a row. Jordan Daly using everything, throwing everything at the racetrack, going a little bit off, and that might have been all she wrote, but maybe one more shot if you can take the chicane as close as possible. Oh my goodness, Eraser off the track. Daly's looking for something. John Eraser has a drive-through penalty. It will not matter. Eraser cuts the track one too many times, and Jordan Daly is going to take home second place here. It will be Verstappen winning, Eraser second, and Daly third, but it will not matter. Daly will get second place. How far down the order will Eraser fall here? Rudy Philmalter across the line, winning in the GT4 AM Class. Neil Pimlott second. Oh my goodness, what a race!
I think Skrillex is going to take P3 of them, and he's got a 30-second penalty as a racer because he couldn't serve that drive-through at the end, so it just automatically gives you a 30-second penalty if you don't serve it. The Skrillex may be on for a P3, but the penalty's not applied until after the race has Verstappen there. I think, Jesse Lee, if your mathematics are correct, I think that's a championship for Verstappen.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, your champion of the GT4 Silver class, Christoph Verstappen.
I mean, we said it before. I know at least I said it. I think this season totally deserved. They've been so consistent. Every fight they've been a part of. Last week, I wasn't here in the box last week, but I was watching from a distance from a grassy knoll on the side of Watkins Glen. I did catch the interview, and Verstappen being sportsman throughout and through, giving positions back when they maybe didn't need to. Being completely fair, fighting amazing, just amazing fighting throughout all of this, and it's paid off, and they fully deserved for this season, and just massive congratulations, just wow.
So, final standings on the screen. McDonald wins it in the Porsche Cup category. And like I said, that prolongs the Porsche Cup championship till the final round. Had it been anything else, Andy Boardman would have won the championship. And I do believe we have George McDonald with us. We're going to pull him into the box and talk to him, but these are the official results today. Skrillex does end up getting that position away from John Arazer. So Skrillex officially third in the GT4 Silver class. Boardman and Huell, your second and third place finishers in the Porsche Cup. And, of course, in the GT4 AM class, Phil Malter, Pimlott, and Tom Watts. Austin, down to you with an interview with our winner today.
I mean, first of all, very strong quality starting, towards the front there. But I think the big thing everyone's first of all, congratulations on the win. But I think the thing that that's on everyone's mind right now is that turn one dive on Boardman. How was that from your perspective, McDonald?
Ballsy. I don't know. I was. Let me turn my game audio right down. There we go. It was. I was closing on him. I dropped back a bit, and I was closing on him quite a lot. And I knew I had to do something when the opportunity came up. And I went over early, so he knew it was coming. That was like that was the warning shot, and he did the right thing. In that situation, he was cautious, stayed wide, and then went for the switchback, which I thought he was going to do. But I think I don't think there was any contact. I hope there wasn't. I think maybe he just did what I've done quite a few times, which is every time he made a slight mistake, just that bit too keen on the power, and then you lose the back yourself. So I think that's what happened. I'm hoping that's what happened, and it's not that there was any contact. If he'd not spun, I probably would have thought about giving the position back, but yeah.
Well, from what
ambitious, but yeah.
No, it had us on the edge of our seats here in the box, and from what we saw, it did just look like they put the power down a little bit too soon. But obviously, that'd be something a little bit later on. But as I said, don't worry. From what we saw, looked completely okay. So I mean, it brings a good point. These cars in the wet. I mean, it's got to be exhausting, right?
I'm very sweaty now. I think it's the Zandvoort was probably worse. It's just the amount of concentration you need. You just can't take your eye off the ball for a second, because like I said, he was all of us, I'm sure, were just making little mistakes here and there, and every time it's like, right, I can just get him if I just get the power down, and then that's it. The back end steps out, and I've lost the couple of tenths that I could have gained, sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's the mental exhaustion. Like, God knows how actual real life racing drivers do it.
That's a very, very valid point. I'm sorry, we're still calming down. I think
I can't believe we can't believe what we just saw. We saw an epic race, a great battle. It was you and Boardman going toe to toe, a fantastic race. I told the story how you're perennially a bridesmaid in this championship. You finished third, second. Today you finally get your win. And I think I'm right in saying this is your first pro class win in RCI history, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it could be. I think I'm normally, sort of mid. If there's a big grid, I'm at top split in the silver. So yeah, I think you're right.
So congratulations on doing that. One of the few to ever win a pro race, and just what a season it's been thus far. You winning preserves the championship fight into the final week. It's still a statistical possibility. What do you reckon your chances are?
Well, let me tell you, I'm going to hospital tomorrow because my wife's going to have a baby. So I'm not even ready.
Oh, no kidding!
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. So yeah, today it was touch and go whether I'd race at all today, but they were like, come back tomorrow. So
it's a sign. It's a sign.
Middle name. First name is going to be Porsche Cup, obviously.
You know what they say? Having a kid that adds 5 horsepower, I think it is.
Oh,
right?
does it? I'll add that to the race.
Do you know what the worst part is for your kid? You're going to forever associate the birth of your child with this race. Oh, I finally won one in the pro category, and you were born. So there you go.
I'll forever remember the day. Her,
No, no after school,
her
Porsche.
birthday will forever be the day I won a race +1.
In that case,
Hey.
congratulations times two on the good news. All our best to the McDonald family
Thank you
as
so much.
well. My goodness, what a day we've had here. Phil, you got anything for our winner?
You put me on the spot there. I was a bit distracted. No, it's just. I mean, I was just gonna. I think my question was just going to be about what Austin was asking, just how difficult these conditions were in these cars. We were talking on the cast about. We did a championship once in these cars where it was changeable conditions at Alton Park, wet racing to a dry. So starting on slick tires, that wasn't fun. But I'm guessing just as you said before, George, just a bit sweaty at the minute after all of that driving. But do you have any insight, any tips for anybody out there for driving these cars in these conditions?
It's just all concentrating on the throttle application. Like I don't know, I wasn't full throttle for too much, and I think it's a big thing, especially is learning track limits where you can stay on the gas and where you have to come off the gas. Sometimes those AstroTurf can be like completely slick, and some of them you can go flat out because something interesting throughout the race. I don't know if you noticed, but Andy Boardman was going through the Schumacher S's on the exit. He was staying off the curb completely, and I was straight lining it, cutting the curb onto the Astro. And I think maybe it was helping me to carry a little bit of extra speed, maybe into the next corner. But yeah, it's that just learning where you can and can't go wide. I think is a huge help as well.
Indeed. Yeah. So I was going to say probably a bit braver than me. I certainly stay away from the curbs in the wet, even in GT3 cars. I'm just absolutely scared of them. But full credit, George. There's some
Thanks,
excellent
man.
driving out there.
I think one thing before I go is probably just the commiserations to Yan Yo, because he was having an absolute blinder out front and looked like I've not watched the replay or anything. It looks like he got caught up with a GT4 or maybe distracted and did something himself. But he was he was going to take it to us that race, and yeah, just unfortunate for him really, because he could have come away with that first pro win as well.
That's it. It goes to show this racing. It's a lot of it, as well as it being skill, there's a degree of luck involved as well, because obviously you're trusting cars around you, and there's a lot that goes on a racetrack and in conditions like this.
Certainly is the case. George McDonald, your winner today, gets one in the pro class, and it's a feel-good victory for more than a couple of reasons. McDonald family is going to celebrate all weekend long on several different occasions, as it turns out. Congrats.
Thanks so much, everyone. Good work on the commentary as well. Do a great job.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Austin, Phil, what a race we had. This is 2 weeks in a row. It's been absolutely eye-popping. Something about this series mixed class here on Thursday, something special about it. And we've got a couple of championships to decide next week.
That's it. It's going to be. I love it when it comes down to the wire, because it gives. I mean, there's always a reason to watch because it's always amazing racing, but at the same time, it just makes that final race that little bit more exciting as to who's going to come away with it. And I can't wait.
Indeed, I think we're at Misano next week, so yeah, it should be a great finale. Certainly, some of these cars are very fun to drive around Misano. Lots of challenging corners, lots of low-speed turns, lots of overtaking opportunities for everyone. So certainly going to be a technical and racecraft demand for some of these drivers next week, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, in addition to that, of course, we have a bunch of different races that you can view. And starting tomorrow, of course, the Friday Champ continues. RCI's longest championship ever continues. It's an 8-race series and its 5th race. It's been such a fantastic show that Tim Peck will be guiding you through that particular series tomorrow. And, of course, Night Out on Saturday as well. And, all the other championships do continue. The Monday Champ just started this past week, continuing as well. As a general reminder, you can sign up mid-season for any ongoing championship. All you got to do the week of is do your pre-quali, and you're in that week's race. It is that simple. And don't worry about your skill level. We have races for you regardless. Doesn't matter if you're brand new or a esport pro, we have splits for you. And on top of all of that, we would love for you to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss a single race, Austin.
Now that is it. And not just that, but a huge thank you to our partners as well. AK Informatica, they do help with our servers and help keep them rolling as well. Driver 61 for all your coaching needs as well. We've said it several times before. You know, we have had members of staff who've gone through our Driver 61 coaching and have come out of it quicker and better drivers towards the end as well. And big thank you to Fanatec as well. With our affiliate code, you guys can help with a little bit of a knockback to help us with servers too. No extra cost to yourselves too. And it's great equipment too. So yeah, no, huge thank you to those guys. And yeah, it's just been an amazing evening, guys.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's been a fun championship so far. Every race we've certainly this championship's been all quality, not quantity. This championship, and we've been thoroughly entertained tonight, just as we have done the previous rounds as well.
So it seems like it all comes down, well, at least for at least one of the overall championships, the Porsche Championship, all comes down to the final race of the season. And I mean, guys, do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, I don't know if you guys are going to have me back for the finale, but it doesn't matter. I'm either going to be here in the box with you two, or should I say you three, or I'm either going to be in the stands one way or another. There is no way I'm going to want to miss that race. Next Thursday, the championship finale. You're going to want to be there. Thanks for having me this week.
No, I honestly, it's great to have you. It's always fun going through Wide in the Box. We've had some good banter, and it's been, yeah. It's I wouldn't have had it any other way given the circumstances. Phil, how are you? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's been some great demonstration of driving ability tonight. To be honest, great racing as well from, as we had George in the box before, and from Andy Boardman. It's been, obviously these sort of conditions are really difficult. Doesn't really matter where you finish, to be honest. So long as you did finish, it's a big achievement for conditions like this.
And there we have it, guys. So no, but without taking up any more of your time, I mean, I've been Austin. You guys have been, Jesse's been Jesse, Phil's been Phil, Christian's been shouting in our ears.
Well, hold on 1 second, Austin. We got to thank our lovely partners.
Did.
Did you?
I did.
He did.
I'm watching the replay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm going away. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm an idiot, Austin. You don't have to listen to me. Kick me out of the booth. I'm gone. I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm sorry, and I'm leaving.
And on that bombshell, it's time to end the stream. We'll see you guys next week.